Hi, I'm Tamara and I'm from CCUA. Sorry, we had to start over because my dogs are losing their minds. So they all have treats now and everyone's happy. And I am here today, sorry it's a little bit late, having some technical difficulties with a garden side chat. But it's going to be a kitchen edition like it is every Wednesday. And we are going to be making homemade pesto. So this time of year, people in their gardens, their basil is going crazy. Like at the Veterans Urban Farm, the basil is huge, and this is some of the leaves that we pulled off, and they're absolutely beautiful. They're the perfect color, they're the perfect texture, and we got just a ton of them here. I personally do have basil in my herb garden, but it is not as big and I didn't have quite enough, so I was able to get some from the Veterans Urban Farm just to do this demo and show everybody what you can do with basil. But I mean, look at some of these beautiful leaves. So if you have a basil plant, this is the perfect time of year where things are really popping and you should be able to take basil off of it and make your own pesto. So what I really like about pesto is that it's something that is fairly easy to make, and I think people perceive it as being really fancy, but it can be so simple and easy, and you can kind of change it if you are doing a paleo diet and you don't eat dairy, or if you are doing keto or something like that, you can really switch it and change it. The thing that's great about pesto is it can be used on like tons of stuff. So I kind of made a list of my favorite ways. Obviously pasta, but if you're not eating pasta or you're doing like some sort of carb-free option, you could do a zucchini noodle. You could do it over bread with tomato as your like bruschetta. You could do it as a salad dressing. I sometimes will just take a little dollop of pesto and put it in with my salad and mix it up. If you do eat meat, you could do it on a meat item and then you could grill it. Like, the possibilities are endless. You could give it out as a gift, which is really nice as well. People love a good homemade pesto. So it's super simple, and this recipe I'm using actually doesn't have nuts because typically your traditional pesto, you would use a pine nut. Pine nuts are pretty expensive and they're kind of hard to find. And you can use things like, I've used a cashew before. I've also used macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts, again, a little bit more expensive. So I decided, let's just do one without nuts. If you'd like to use nuts, there's tons of recipes out there for different kinds of nuts. I've also seen it with almonds. Now I have not tried that, but it could be really good. So the first thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need 2 cups of basil, or you can do 1 cup of basil, 1 cup of spinach, or you could do 1 cup of basil, 1 cup of kale. I have done all these combinations. I like the original basil, but if you don't have enough basil, or you maybe have kids that this is a little bit too much powerful flavor, you could try doing a spinach or a kale. It might be kind of a fun mix. So I'm gonna take my 2 cups of basil, and again, these are so beautiful, and I'm gonna dump them right in my food processor. This is actually a blender food processor. If you don't have one of those, you could use a mortar and pestle. I've seen people do it where they just chop everything up and kind of grind it with their hands. You could totally do that too. I did want to kind of point out, I thought this was super interesting. So if you get you get your basil off of your plant, and it looks like this, and obviously it had a bunch of leaves, but I took them off. I wanted to show y'all, if you're getting a leaf that's turning black, hopefully you can see this, or it's like really dark in color, like there is a couple on here, don't eat those. They've just gone a little bad. I don't think it would hurt you if you ate it, but I don't think the flavor is there. So I left like a brown. And also something to note is I never throw away the stems of my herbs because there's so much flour in these, there's so much flavor in these bad boys. So what I do with these is, like, all the stems from this today, I'm actually gonna freeze them and throw them in with my my vegetable broth scraps that I've talked about in another video, like my carrot peels, my potato peels, like all the things I save in the freezer to make my own vegetable broth. Save these bad boys, you will not regret it. Now I will say these have a lot of powerful flavor, so I don't always use all. So I have like about 6 or 7 stems. I wouldn't use all of that in one batch because it would be a little overpowering. But like if you're gonna do like a big turkey, a batch of turkey broth with like your turkey carcass from Thanksgiving, like throwing a few of these bad boys in that you froze would be so good. So that's a great note, just as a side note if you want to use basil in a different way. Okay, so then you do 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese or Romano cheese, any kind of blend you want. I actually got this at Aldi. They have really reasonably priced cheese if you don't have a local cheese available, or you're just running out to the store to grab some. Let's see, 2 to 4 garlic cloves. Now, if you want a little bit of a less crazy flavor, I know garlic can be a little bit spicy if you eat it raw, especially if you have children or somebody that's a little sensitive to raw garlic. I have roasted this before with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and put it either in the oven, or if you have an air fryer, you could do that too, for like 10 to 15 minutes, and like it gets golden brown. I didn't roast this because I love the flavor of raw garlic, but I just want to throw that out there. So I actually did 4 cloves of garlic because I just love garlic. But if you don't love garlic, you could do 2 cloves. If you really don't love garlic, you could leave it out. It won't hurt it too much. I love the flavor of it. Let's see, so I'm gonna throw my cheese in there. Okay, so you could use any kind of lemon juice that you have on hand. I actually happen to have half a lemon left, or something I was making the other day. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze half a lemon. So in this particular recipe, it just called for half a lemon juiced. What you could do though is like a couple tablespoons. It really depends on how much lemon flavor you want. If you actually have a real lemon on hand, you could zest it. The zest always tastes really good. But if you don't, do 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I would maybe do 1, taste it, and then do a second one. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of lemon juice in that lemon. My goodness. That may have been a little bit too much, but that's okay. If anything, if you get a little bit too much acidity in there, you could throw in some more spinach or some more basil, or thin it out with water or something like that. Put a little bit more olive oil in it, something like that, to kind of like tame the acidity down. Do a little bit of pepper, and this recipe calls for a half teaspoon of pepper. I don't ever measure it, but you could totally do that if you want. And then a dash of salt. And then what I do, and this is going to get really loud here in a second, so if it's getting too loud, you can feel free to just mute me for a minute, and I'll flag you down when I'm done, or you can listen to the blender. So I put everything in here, and then what I like to do, and it depends on what kind of food processor blender you're using, but I like to start it up and drizzle the olive oil in. If you don't like to do that or whatever, the only thing I want to note is that sometimes I have splashed it out when I turn the blender on, so be careful with that. So I'm actually not going to talk for a minute, but I will flag you down when we're all done blending. So give me just a second. Hopefully this isn't too awfully loud. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something really fast, and then we'll go back to blending up. If you see that when you start to do it, it's just a little bit chunky and it's not very wet, you feel free to add a little bit more olive oil and kind of drizzle it in. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's really, really kind of chunky, and I think I need a little bit more olive oil. So I'm going to drizzle the rest of what I have in here. And then I'm going to go a little bit over what the recipe is asking for and just drizzle a little bit more. So don't be afraid to add more than the recipe calls for. I think I probably went a little bit crazy on the garlic and the basil, so I think that's why I need a little bit more olive oil. Okay, I'm going to be loud again, so hold on just a second. Okay, hopefully you're still with me. Okay, so I just blended that up, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to get off here so you guys can go make your own. But it turned out pretty well. And sorry about my dogs and the technical difficulties I had today. Hopefully things will get a little bit more settled here soon. I just moved, so I'm in the amongst of unpacking and trying to make things look a lot better. So I want to show you what this looked like. Maybe you can see. So that's what it looks like. And honestly, I would probably add a little bit more olive oil to this and blend a little bit more because I can still see my cheese because I like mine a little bit thinner. I might even add just a touch of water to mine because often I use it for dressing, but it's pretty flexible. So whatever you want to do is up to you. Also, I wanted to note, don't ever feel the pressure to have to run to the store to grab a lemon. Using lemon juice that you have at home is totally fine. I don't feel like it changes the flavor a ton. And honestly, right now, when we're trying to stay home more, I would always encourage you to just be creative and use something that you have at home. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully my dogs will be a little bit quieter next Wednesday. So thanks again for watching, and please like, plant, and subscribe to CCUA. We're coming out with content every week, so if there's something in particular that you are really wanting to learn to cook, or how do I use this certain vegetable, or how do I clean it, or anything like that, please let us know and we would love to do a little demo on it. So thanks again.